choosing songwriting.
Hi, thanks for watching. Sorry.
You're like
Here we go.
me.
I can't do this. Okay, we try again. Hi, thanks for watching. We have a great artist on the show today. Someone I've been a fan of for more than 20 years. I'm very honored to have him on our very first show, Mr. Charlie Pickett.
Thanks, Jim.
This is our first show. I couldn't think of a better person to be on the very first show. I wanted to ask you some questions about music that I can learn something, and hopefully people at home can learn something as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where it all came from?
Well, like most people who get in rock and roll, like most men who get in rock and roll, they do it to meet girls. We had been recording a little bit with the Cichlids, just to learn how to record, just out of fun. We were just kind of bored, and we wanted to know how to do something for fun. And there came a time when we realized, with all the things going on in new music, that White Light, White Heat needed to be played in South Florida, just to clear the air, just to like have a shower and you know how like the end of a shower, there's a clearness to the air and there's a freshness and it smells better. Well, we thought that if we played White Light Heat one time in South Florida, that there would be a certain clearness. So that's what we tried to do, and we did it. And the bar owner liked it and invited us back.
When did you first pick up the guitar? When did you first, do it? I mean, was there like a Beatles record or something?
Actually, it was something much less poetic.
Okay,
It was
that's fair.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Okay, great.
And but then when I got to be 14 or so, there was a wonderful Jan and Dean song that appealed to a boy, death and destruction and sadness and terrible melancholy and stuff like that, and it was called Dead Man's Curve by Jan and Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful horn line. I think it was by the West Coast people who, who they were all studio guys, and Jan and Dean came.
Right,
into the
right. That's
thing.
great.
And then I thought there was a wonderful hidden story behind "Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby?" Dance or "Standing in the Shadows" by the Stones. The first time I heard that, I thought, "Wow, that's dangerous. Something's going on there."
Right.
And I think that was the beginning of what really attracted me to guitar.
What was that story to you at whatever age it would have been?
I don't know. A hidden lover,
Right, okay.
standing in the shadows, and unfaithfulness on the part of the girl. I
Right.
didn't really get what it was about, and I still don't get what it was about. But
Well, yeah. Like different songs mean different things to different people.
right, you fill in the blanks.
Did you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Yeah, I remember the first song I ever wrote that we played. I wrote some awful songs.
But I mean the very first one, the
Ooh.
worst of the first. I'd love to hear that. If you could play a
It
little
was
bit.
it was a stolen riff from "Tell Mama" by Savoy Brown. Wow, it was about unfaithfulness. But
How do you normally write?
you have two methods, really. I'm serious. There is the method in which you're trying to take a concept or trying to take a point, and you use your words, and you come up with the words that convey the most of your concept without being real open about it and apparent about it. You have to leave some room for, I think, poetic imagination. I'm not a Guy Clark kind of songwriter. I don't have that capacity, and I realize that, and I think that when we wrote, when I wrote most of them, you're trying to use your words to convey the same message. And then the other way is to come up with a good riff on the guitar, because I'm a guitar player that sings.
Right.
And most of the good songs I've written from words starting first, but so been some good ones from music first.
Have you ever had a moment where you felt just completely inspired and the song just came through you, and it was just which songs were those?
Everybody remembers Leslie Wimmer from Open Books and Records.
Yes.
And she had
Open Books and Records, sorry to interrupt, but it's a record store here in Miami, probably the best record store in Miami. Maybe Blue Note was another one, but very influential. Everybody would come through there.
Everybody did. Everybody
You know,
did.
you
And
too,
Yesterday and Today, and yeah.
R.E.M.
R.E.M. And yeah, it was a great store, and my God, you sit there and play and goof around on the couch for hours if you could.
Right.
And I'd love to go back to that.
Yeah, Yesterday and Today was another great record store. Rich Uloa. Great.
Yeah. Anyway, Leslie had broken up with Ted for the last time, and so I was just very apparent that just flat out, almost very very clearly told her, gee, I'd love to be with you, and she very gently, because she's a nice person, just said that'll never happen, something like that, in a nicer way. And so I was at the time reading Look Homeward Angel by Thomas Wolfe, and he finishes chapters with "Oh Youth" and "Oh Hope" and "Oh Love," and it's just one word, always two words, "Oh something,"
right,
and exclamation mark. And it sort of struck me as I'm never gonna be in love, never really going to find, I hate the word soulmate, but it's close. And
you're in the pit of despair.
there you go, very much so.
And of course you reached
nothing,
for your guitar.
nothing, no shining sunrise, no nothing, just the midnight black.
Right.
And so I wrote All Love All Gone.
All Love All Gone. That's a great song too.
Thank you. I think we played this together.
I played with you a few times. I've had the honor to play bass with him many times. Well, actually, not very many, but I played a couple of shows.
Some very important shows.
Yeah.
I really appreciate very much. So anyway, this is about that incident. So it goes. Sit down. I want to talk. Said Charlie, there's one thing I want you to understand. She was woman, I was boy. Said I like you and I respect you and all that, but I don't love you, I don't love you, I don't love you, I don't love you. All love, all faith, all hope, all gone. The damn silence and damn my eyes. But I can see the beauty of a woman that I'll never have. And I knew, yes I knew, there are certain things in life that I would just never have. All love, all faith, all hope, all gone.
Just a moment of inspiration.
Yeah,
reading a book.
Yes, very much so. I remember reading, what was it? Leon Uris's one about the Irish, and it was about Irish stiffness and Irish resolve against the English, and I remember being inspired by that so much that my boss came over and yelled at me one day, and I said, "Well, that's it, I quit." It was so bad. It was such a bad decision to be inspired by that book that day. And
Right.
He took me back about 8 months later.
Sometimes you got to choose your battles. But then again, like the going from the pit of despair to another great song that I love of yours, which is Penny Instead.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an ode to my wife, And yeah, that one's happy.
I've had big trouble, but it's turned out all right. My young life was a horror. My young life was a fright. When I finally got a girlfriend, she was crazy in the head. I could have had crazy, but I got petty instead.
Do you believe that brokenheartedness or bad things that happen to you in your life, you think you need that in order to write a great song, or does it just is it just in you?
It sure helps. I don't know. I can only speak for myself, and you know, so people who write the wonderfully great celebratory songs, I wish I could. I keep saying, why don't I write a happy song, you know? And I hardly ever do. And you tell yourself, well, is it a personal flaw or what? But yeah, from the depths of despair and anger, sometimes come good songs. I've written some songs from writing a riff. And then
Right.
when you write a riff, you're okay.
But I remember when we were first starting out, I was in a band called The Goods, and we were just starting out, and Charlie took us, you were nice enough to take us to meet R.E.M. at Churchill's, which was the thrill of my life up to that point. It was exciting, and I remember you were at that sort of precipice between what do I do? Do I want to continue with the rock and roll life, or do I want to, you know, kind of think about things, you know, like real life stuff? So maybe talk a little bit about that time in your life.
Sure. I started out, I was 26 when I started out, which is a little bit late to start a band. And we were so successful so quick that we were able to tour the country. We had been in Melody Maker, we'd been in all of the domestic magazines, Trouser Press, and we'd been in European magazines and British mags. And then for 3 years we stayed at, for 5 years we stayed at the same level. And each year on New Year's Eve, we would always play a lucrative gig, and we'd have fun. We'd say, well, maybe next year we'll play, some place in New York or some place in L.A., and we'll be on part of the MTV thing or something like that. And it never happened for us. And so 5 years of staying at the same level convinced me that we did not have that thing that Tom Petty had or that others had. And I've you always worry about deluding yourself in music. No matter how many people will tell you you're great, you're great, you're great, and frankly I appreciate the heck out of that. I'm almost an applause junkie. But I didn't want to be older, because you're not going to break in older. That's my impression anyway. As we're seeing from Chris Stapleton, you can break in older. But anyway, I just decided I better not. And my hair was turning gray, and so I was dyeing my hair the last 3 years I was in the band, and we just stopped at 88. I mean, when Pete Buck produces your last record and it doesn't go, you tell yourself maybe it's just not in the cards for me. But Jim, in all seriousness, we did 99%. We did everything but get the money. We toured with people, we were friends with people, we had great experiences, met so many fine people that, to not get the money is okay.
And the respect.
We had lots of respect, and you get to play and rehearse with people that are on your same page, and which elevate what you had thought it should go as. We were not trying to expand music. We were not trying to expand the vocabulary of music or of the words or of the subject matter or anything like that. We were trying to dig as deep a hole as we could dig to get into a blues rock thing made with a new view of the world, it's not going to Chicago, that's where I'm going to stay. It's something different. And so I think we did good at that. And to play with Johnny Salton, who was just a great honor. You'd go to practice, and the man would be like playing with Mick Taylor or Harvey Mandel, and you'd just go, when he got done.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Johnny. I actually wanted to just get some of your most favorite adventures on the road or misadventures.
Yeah, we played the 931 year. I'm going to guess it was 83 or so, the 930 Club in Washington, and we were standing outside in the load in the back, and John said to me, what did they do in alleyways? And I'm thinking, why is Johnny asking me that question? And because he was not a student of history, did not have curiosity for it, and he said, what did they do in alleyways in the old days, Charlie? I said, I don't know. They did the same thing, loaded in the beer, and they loaded in the stuff off the back alley instead of stopping the traffic in the front. And then we talked about that for about 5 minutes, and then that was it. And so when John left, the sun was setting a little bit, and I looked at the profile of the building across the way, and it was Ford's Theater. And of course, that is the Ford's Theater that a kid held John Wilkes Booth's horse, and John Wilkes Booth, after he shot Lincoln, escaped through that alleyway. And we used to call John Bad Johnny, and so it just seemed impossible that he would be asking me that question. So.
It must have been great working with Pete Buck.
Pete is seriously the person you imagine you would be if you became a rock star. All good guys. Pete is particularly a good guy and normal. Doesn't try to play humble. He's just a normal person and tries to retain his normalness, I think.
Yeah, well, he seems that way. And I mean, I just met him that one time, but he was very cool, very nice guy. With this show, what I like to do is I like to ask the guest. You're the first guest. But what I want to do is see if we can write a song together, but in 30 minutes. Think we can try that?
We can sure try.
Okay.
I'm sure we can get a song. Now, whether it's going to be good or not.
It doesn't matter. What we used to do with the band back in the days, we'd lock ourselves in a room for 30 minutes and we'd imagine that the SS, the Nazis, were outside the door. And if we didn't write it in 30 minutes, we'd be shot.
There you go.
So we can just imagine they're right out there. And let's see what we do. And I've got this little timekeeper here, otherwise known as a sand. What do they call these things anyway?
Hourglass.
Hourglass, okay. I've got this trusty hourglass here. And let's go to town. Well, we made it through that. And we didn't get shot. Isn't that great?
That's great.
Look at how much time we have left, people.
We got time to write another
We
chorus.
could write another song with this amount of time left. How awesome is that? Is that amazing or what? Okay, so I'm going to put this down. We're going to play the song we wrote, and it's called Regrets. Here we go.
When it's low, when it's late, I do think of you. When it's gone, never moves on, I hold on. Nothing can change what has happened. Nothing. We could just talk like we used to, like we used to. Regrets, the things I never said. Regrets, the things I never did. I never told you how much you meant. I played the game, but I never bet. Now I'm left with nothing but love and regrets. When I return to this dark mind, I'm lost, I'm blind, can't make sense of all the time I lost what I thought was mine. Nothing could change what has happened. Nothing. If we could just talk like we used to, like we used to. Regrets, things I never said, things I never did. I never told you how much you meant. I played the game, but I never bet. Now I'm left with nothing but love and regrets. Love and regrets. Love, love, love and regrets. Love and regrets. Love and regrets. Love, love, love and regrets. Solo. Left with nothing. Left with nothing. Nothing could change what has happened. Nothing. We could just talk like we used to, like we used to. Regrets. Never regrets. The things I never did. I never told you how much you meant. I played the game, but I never bet. Now I'm left with nothing. Regrets. The things I never said. All the things I never did. I never told you how much you meant. I played the game, but I never bet. Now I'm left with nothing. Now I'm left with nothing. But love and regret. Now I'm left with nothing. Love and regrets. Love and regrets.
How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, musically. He made us happy, I guess, and touched us a little, I guess.
Well, you definitely have done that.
Thank you. When you go back to Denver, say, and you played it a year before, and somebody comes up to you and says, you know, last year when you played the first song, and I turned to this girl and I said, wow, that was fun. And she says hi, and they start talking, and a year later they've got a child, and they're coming back to your show. That's a great feeling. It really is.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Mr. Charlie Pickett, see you next time.
Adventures in Songwriting.